there are a lot of phrases in our world that are really taboo, and people don't want to utter them because they want to appear wise and knowledgeable and authoritative and, powerful and strong. But I think that the biggest taboo phrase in our world at the moment is "I don't know." One of the people that I met recently, we had sort of a couple of brief interactions. When we met on the street, I've mentioned this chap in recent videos, but we met and I texted him and didn't respond, and then we ran into each other in the street after months. I mean, literally months, 3 or 4 months. And I'd actually forgotten about him, and I encountered him and we had a bit of a conversation. And it was a bit of a mixed bag. I'll be honest, it was a bit of a mixed bag. But there was one point where we were talking about life in general, about goals and aspirations, etc. And he asked me, "Oh, what do you want to do?" And I said, "Well, I don't know." And he, much as I did there, he laughed. He laughed, and he wasn't being judgmental, he wasn't being malicious, but I think he was so surprised that somebody was just completely honest with him. And "I don't know" is a very honest phrase to utter. It says, I don't know all the answers. I don't know everything that's going on. I'm confused about certain things, and I don't have at the moment necessarily a grand plan for the progression of society and all of the wonders that are housed within. I think it's a really brave thing actually to say that you don't know, because I think it shows humility, which is a trait. It's a personality trait that is in short supply and underrated. If you ask somebody a question, or any question, it's just sort of expected of us that we have all of the answers. And we don't, because I think that's hubristic. I think that's really arrogant that we know everything. And I know that at certain junctures of my life, that with family and friends and colleagues, so yeah, I know that. And it's like, do you? It goes quite deep to when you'll ask somebody about a historical event, whether it's, I mean, in the UK, and in many Western countries, we're obsessed with the world wars, and the idea that we have a comprehensive knowledge about all of these things that have happened in history. I just don't believe it. I think we're sold a narrative. We're sold a belief system that we have to know everything to be a good person. We have to be wise and erudite and knowledgeable, and we have to have a response for everything. And in a way, saying "I don't know" is a response. It is a standpoint from which you can actually engage in real and genuine inquiry. And I think that maybe the reason that people are afraid of "I don't know" is because they're frightened of actually pulling little threads and admitting to themselves that there are truths that they would rather not deal with. Because when you start to pull apart the fabric of what we believe to be accepted and universal truth, well, you have to accept, and there's ego involved in this, ladies and gents, we have to accept that our belief systems and the foundations on which we've built our lives might not actually be true. We might be building castles on the sand. And many people do this, believe me, and because they don't want to look bad, they don't want to look ignorant or, feeble or unwise. But I think that the wisest standpoint that you can actually build your life from is saying, well, actually, no, I don't know yet. I remember when I was in London, and this is it's relatively early on when I was in London. It's probably talking, 15 years ago, 20 years ago. It's early on in my time in London. I was talking with this chap. My sister and I used to go to this really fantastic dance. I call it a lesson, dance class, sort of social thing. And there was this really, really nice chap who was really engaged. He was really sweet. And we would have sort of mini conversations after we'd finished, because it so happened that this particular dance gathering was literally minutes from where my sister and I lived. And it got onto the subject of a book that I was writing at the time. And he said, "Oh, is it published?" And I said, "No, not yet." He said, "Oh, I like that. I like yet." Because it is something actually that I did come to publish in later years. And I thought, well, that's from a standpoint of not knowing exactly how things are going to turn out, but having an open mind to actually not know every single step that you're going to take, but having an outcome in mind. And I think the greatest outcome is humility. Is actually to say, I don't know, and let all of the great glorious wonders of God's world actually come into your life. I think that's a wonderful thing, because you're being honest. You're not having to pretend about who you are. So saying, I don't know, means that you're open to the truth. I think that's the most important thing in this world. And you can start to ground yourself in reality and be not just an open person, but somebody that doesn't have to prove anything. Most people are trying to prove a point all the time, and they miss the wonderful human interactions that they might have. And I think it's just a really good thing to be honest. Honesty is the best policy. To say, I don't know, and leave room for the answers that are going to transform you into the best possible version of you that can possibly be. So, thank you very much for listening. Please do like and subscribe and share to spread this very important message, because most of the world's miseries are about people trying to prove themselves right when they don't actually have all of the answers. And I think it can be really damaging, not just to other people, but to your soul, to the version of yourself that's real. Hold steadfast to that, you know. And I point at this sheet music here. I've been learning this piece for a while, and it always starts from a standpoint that you don't know how you're going to be able to play it, but you know that with time and patience that you will be able to learn how to play the great music of life. And I encourage all of you watching this to have the humility and patience and understanding that you don't have to know everything, but you have to be willing to be the very, very best version of yourself. Thank you very much. Ciao for now.